three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Teaching Crypto. This is AZcrypto with MrFOMO. We really appreciate when you guys hit that like and subscribe button, especially that subscribe button, as we make some progress here to the 600 number. So any help you could give us in sharing the show, we would greatly appreciate. MrFOMO, the huge hearing is happening in less than 24 hours, and we waited this morning to do the show to see if any Stretto documents would hit. None have hit, which is very interesting. So let's talk about this for a moment, because we were promised 2 documents, an InfoBlast document, which has not hit, that they could have released at any point. And I have a theory. I'll talk about it. I talked about it yesterday as to why that's, I don't think, coming at this point, if it is coming at all. And minor changes to the plan, which the judge said was allowed, but they needed to present. Now, as far as my research shows, changes had to be presented in a Stretto document. Talking to the lawyers for the wind down, the admin team, they were planning to present documents. It is almost 11 o'clock right now, and no documents. Now, there is several hour delay sometimes in Stretto, but if you don't see documents in the next few hours, which it doesn't look like there are, my question then is, what are these guys planning to do tomorrow in court? Are they going to shock us and say, Judge, we are going to implement the plan, and here's what we've done so far, which we asked for? Or are they going to do something out of the blue that we're not expecting, and they don't want us to know ahead of time? I have some questions about this.
I expect more shade. I expect them to come into court and say the market conditions have changed. New calculations need to be made. Woe is us. We need to kick this can down the road a little bit further, and we'll get another motion to extend the hearing. So I just don't think that we're going to get what we want to get tomorrow, especially with the lack of information, because you spoke with Grayson Williams from Taft, Stettinius, whatever their law firm is named. He's an associate of Paul Hage, who's the plan administrator, and he said we would be getting information. Now, he almost, I believe he alluded to the idea that we'd be getting the information leading into the weekend, or at least with plenty of time to review it prior to the hearing.
Before the hearing,
24 hours out, no information. Like you said, it could be posting on Stretto right now, but it would be nice if we could comb through that, especially with the viewers.
Well, here's the thing. The markets changed drastically over the weekend, like I said yesterday. If they prepared a document on Thursday and Friday, it was immediately outdated Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning. And these guys,
I expect them to come in and try and kick the can down the road a little bit further.
And so it all comes down to the judge. And you know, here's the thing. Technically, creditors have 7 days to object to any type of changes in the plan. Well, it's hard to object when you can't see the changes. So is there a little bit of a cat and mouse game being played here where I think you hit on something. They might tell the judge, here's what we plan to do. We plan to file. Now, if I'm the judge, I'm irate. You're making changes. You haven't filed on Stretto. You haven't given creditors any time to look at this. And this is where it comes in. What power then does the judge have? And if need be, then we got to start talking tomorrow, if things go badly, about what are the steps necessary to replace plan admin. I think my utopian idea of them coming in and saying, Judge, we're executing the plan. Here's how much they're getting back. Here's the date. It's going to be June, whatever, July, whatever. I think I'm probably in dreamland. Sadly, it shouldn't be that difficult. But
nothing is 0%. But I wouldn't get out of the single digits as far as the chances of that happening and giving you a percentage on that happening tomorrow. So I think they're going to come in and complain about the market conditions and about having to do new calculations and about how, it's such a hard job and they need more time. And I fully expect them to come up with some sort of lame argument like that about why they can't get this done or even have a plan to get it done tomorrow.
I'm still, if they don't release any documents at all today, which again, today you can't just release them tomorrow morning. The court date is tomorrow. If they don't release any documents today, I don't know how you show up and say we're going to make changes, but we haven't decided what to do after the judge said either come in and give me an update on implementing the original plan or come up with some small changes. So I don't see how, if I'm a judge tomorrow, I'm not irate. And then the question is, what can he do? We're not legal experts, so we can't tell you guys for sure. But there's got to be a breaking point at some point in saying, you know what, guys, I'm now giving you some deadlines.
Well, you noticed last time he said, we're not going to extend these proceedings in order to talk about protections anymore, right? And so they're going to come back with something other than that, right? So they're going to extend the proceedings with something other than protections for Steve, protections for themselves, whatever. As the judge already said, that law doesn't exist. That's an irrelevant argument. I don't want to hear about that the next time you walk into this courtroom. So they're just going to come up, like you said, it's a cat and mouse game. So they're just going to come up with some other lame argument that kicks the can down the road. And we're just going to soak up, they're just going to soak up more of our cash.
Before we talk about a couple altcoins that we really have not talked about on the show, obviously some leaked pictures of Steve, and supposedly he's in St. Thomas. Supposedly he can't confirm this, but this is leaked on Twitter, obviously. He also sold his house. And, seems like he's I wouldn't say permanent resident, but he's he's spending a lot of his time in the islands. It's sad that just no remorse has been shown at all. Still taking full salary, wants to extend the full salary, and this company has not generated 1 cent of profit in almost a year. And this man's gotten himself well over $300,000, and he wants to continue and continue. I mean, he wants to keep getting paid until the wind down is over. We talked about this. The wind down could take years and years, and at some point money runs out. But the idea that this guy is paying himself and doing nothing, zero, and you see the list of people there, it is really disgusting as people wait for, like we talked about, funds that really could improve their lives. And a lot of it's been lost, but there's still some available. And the idea that this guy is, and I'm sure he didn't intend for these to leak, but the idea that this guy is having fun in the Caribbean while people suffer, and he has no problem getting his full paycheck when the company hasn't produced 1 cent of profit in almost a year, just disgusting.
Oh, I mean, how many other disgusting criminals are on this list? You have 2 directors here, whatever that is, making over $300,000, $30,000 a month. In 2 months, they make more than any teacher we know.
Well, look at this.
Here in Florida.
Look at this. $314,273. And they want to extend it past October. And
Right.
see, this is where if these guys, the admin, really cared at all, they would say, Judge, we don't need to be paying executives absorbent salaries while we do a wind down, especially when customers have not received 1 single cent. So I don't feel bad that these pictures leaked. I'm sure he's not happy, but I don't feel bad. He should be ashamed of himself. Should be completely ashamed. He's still active on Twitter. He's liked pictures over the last few months during the NBA playoffs. You can go look unless he's put those down. And, magically some of his interviews that people have done have come down, even though he's not in charge of those YouTube pages. Very interesting. You know who we're referring to. So it's just a horrible situation. But again, do we really... Great. Lena asked a great question. How do we get a new plan administrator? Where the creditors have to ask for that, right? And so that would be the next step. Now, as we know, Gina filed the motion last week to contest. Right now, there's nothing to contest because nothing has been released. There very well could be a Stretto document released later today, right? We just didn't want to wait too long to go live with you guys, but there could be one, and obviously we'll tweet. And if it's something crazy, one of us will definitely come back on and do another quick hit here. But we'll have to see. Can it be done as early as tomorrow? Possibly. The issue is the creditors don't know what the plan is, the new plan is. So it's hard to come in there. Someone would have to right now be writing down, a plan to ask for new plan admin. I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be too early because we just don't know what these guys are doing. And maybe that's the rationale for not releasing anything or releasing anything so late is creditors don't have time to communicate and strategize to ask for a new plan admin. Because once you ask for a new plan admin, there is a process involved. I've heard 2 months, I've heard 3 months. I don't know what the process is. They tried to tell me it was going to be a year on the phone, and I find that completely absurd. I don't think it's going to be a year to get a new plan admin, but it's not like you just say, Judge, want a new plan admin, and the next day it's done. There is a process, and hopefully the judge can give the creditors information tomorrow, right? And we can get that information.
Yudi had a good question here. Can either of us attend the hearing tomorrow? We'll be following it in real time. We may have a show prior to, or we may wait until afterwards.
I think we should definitely wait till after. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I'd like to.
And that's a great point that that Yudi's making there. Binance and Robinhood are now liquidating all these questions.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
And so that's another point for the judge to stand on when he says, I don't want to talk about protections. That you've got 2 other prominent exchanges that are willing to liquidate these coins, and they're not worried about some sort of future law.
Jeremy says we should get our initial distribution first and then a new plan administrator. Problem is, Jeremy, this guy doesn't want to give an initial distribution. That's what we've been talking about these last few days into last week. It would be great to get initial distribution, but you need the plan administrator to actually execute a plan which has been approved. And like we said, that's the problem. We may have to get a new plan administrator just to get initial distribution, and that's the issue. So enough of that for now. We're gonna watch this very closely the rest of the day and see what happens, see if we need to get back on. But likely we're planning to do a show after the hearing tomorrow. Mr. FOMO, I did want to share for our viewers, because we talked about recovery. This is a token that I've not talked about on the show, and I don't believe you have. And it is called IDEX. Now, you can look at the chart right here, right? Crazy chart. You see, and when you see the charts, it makes the numbers come alive. You see that right here, we're hovering around 57 cents. Right now, we're down to 5 cents. And when you look at these charts, what's crazy is you see how much opportunity there can be, right? And this is something that's not in the top 50. This is something that not a lot of people talk a huge deal about. But with a market cap of 39 million and a volume of 11 million during a bear market, especially, when it's not a great time right now to be into alts, let's get real. This one kind of caught my attention, and I've heard people talk about this one. It's an interesting token that, not a lot of people have discussed. What are your thoughts, Mr. FOMO?
I like exchanges. We've seen some exchanges do some explosive things in a bull market, and you can see that there. That line straight up, that parabolic climb that it made right in the middle of that chart is pretty incredible. And so when you're talking about DEXs, they'll be important, especially in bull runs, because people will be using them to buy. And so about that one, though, they had some interesting ways of handling problems that exist on swaps and DEXs, like, I guess dropped or lost trades.
Well, yeah, let me read it to you really quickly.
They've got a lot of different ideas on how to work around interesting problems.
Let me just read a small part of this. Mm-hmm. IDX claims to be the first hybrid liquidity DEX that combines an order book model with an automated market maker. It blends the performance and features of a traditional order book model with the security and liquidity of an AMM. IDEX takes an innovative approach to decentralized exchanges by combining an off-chain trading engine with an on-chain trade settlement. Users benefit from that in several ways, and I'll just read one. First, this approach does away with failed trades. You remember that, from the Voyager trade. Sometimes the trades wouldn't happen, and wasted money on gas fees, making the trading experience more pleasant and efficient. That alone, we talked about this off the air, could be significant if it really happens.
And I think they're also kind of talking about addressing problems on swaps, slippage, stuff like that. The things that, and gas fees, obviously, they're speaking of, but You know, I like the idea, or at least the explanation that they give, that they have an off-chain engine to manage the trades and then settle them on-chain to guarantee that. That sounds, you know, a lot like side chains when you talk about layer 2 solutions. And so I like the idea of that because it would allow that to scale. You know, depending, you know, no matter how many people are trading, that off-chain engine allows those things to happen off-chain and not gobble up a lot of the a lot of the energy that's happening on-chain.
Okay, and you had one to share really quickly.
One that I've talked about recently, it was an airdrop recently. But I like the Sui token. It's a layer 1. That a 427 million market cap, doing 389 million in volume. That's up 50% over the last day. And you know, their volume to market cap is 91%. But this is one that was airdropped, and you can see how far it came down and where we are now. So it's just one that I've been watching. They have some interesting ideas. They sort of led the market resurgence over the last day, jumping up about 8%. And this is one we played with earlier in the year and made a little bit of money on. But this is an interesting token. You know, like I said, layer 1 smart contract platform. You know, and they claim to be fast, private, secure, all that good stuff. But it's just one to keep an eye on because of the low market cap, how much attention it's getting, and over the last day, it seems to be leading the charge out of this little dip that
So
we've
that
had.
24-hour volume is insane for a bear market, especially with all the FUD from last week. I think so. I really think so. So, guys,
Why that chart
I just want to recap really quickly. Great pick, Mr. FOMO. Watch out for any Stretto documents today. If there are no Stretto documents, then that leaves a lot of questions as to what the approach is going to be tomorrow in court. We will have you guys updated. We plan to go live after the court hearing, for sure, 1,000,000%. We appreciate all of you. And if you have not done so, please hit that like and most importantly, hit that subscribe button. We will talk to you guys tomorrow or maybe even today. We'll have to see how the day goes. For Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. You have a great day, everybody.
See you.